I told my husband he was a loser who peaked in high school. He left, took his 401k, and somehow ended up thriving, while I was the one left behind, realizing too late what I'd thrown away. I still can't believe those words actually came out of my mouth. Like, who even says that to their husband of 12 years? Me, apparently. Brittany Walsh, the girl who landed the hottest guy in high school, telling him he's a loser in the middle of Denny's while families are trying to enjoy their pancakes. I'm 32 now, but sometimes I still feel like that insecure 16-year-old who couldn't believe Kyle Peterson asked me to prom. Everything blew up 3 weeks ago, and I'm still sitting in our half-empty house, trying to figure out how we got here. 1 minute, we're having breakfast at our usual spot, and the next minute, I'm watching my husband walk out on me because I couldn't keep my stupid mouth shut. The worst part? A tiny piece of me still feels like I was right, even though I know what I said was horrible. Kyle and I have been together since junior year of high school. He was the Kyle Peterson, quarterback, homecoming king, the guy every girl wanted and every guy wanted to be. I was just Brittany Miller back then, pretty enough but nothing special. When he first noticed me in chemistry class, I nearly died. When he asked for my number a week later, I was sure someone had put him up to it. But by Thanksgiving, I was wearing his Letterman jacket and sitting with his friends at lunch. Back then, Kyle was everything. His dad owned a local construction company, and everyone assumed Kyle would either play college ball or take over the family business. Either way, his future looked golden. Meanwhile, I was smart but not exceptional, pretty but not pageant material. Being Kyle Peterson's girlfriend instantly made me somebody. Our senior year was magical, until the Henderson game. I still flinch thinking about the sound when Kyle's knee bent the wrong way under that linebacker. The stadium went silent, and just like that, the scholarship offers disappeared. After graduation, everyone expected Kyle to go play college football or at least take some business classes at community college. But he surprised everyone by taking this management training program at Halton's Hardware instead. He said he wanted to start making real money, not waste time in school. His dad knew the owner, so Kyle figured he'd be running the place in 5 years tops. Meanwhile, I took night classes and worked my way up from receptionist to office manager at Pine Valley Dental. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, and Dr. Reeves gave me good raises. I always thought Kyle would eventually go back to school or find something better than Halton's, but the years just kept passing. Fast forward to now, and Kyle's still at Halton's, just an assistant manager after all these years. Don't get me wrong, he works hard. He's never missed a day, does overtime whenever they offer it, and he's the first person his boss calls when there's a problem. But his paychecks never seem to grow much, and our little starter home in Oak Ridge isn't looking so starter anymore after a decade. I probably wouldn't have cared so much if Facebook hadn't dragged me back into everyone's lives. It started with our 10-year reunion last summer. I reconnected with all these people I hadn't thought about in years, and suddenly my feed was full of their amazing lives, vacation homes, European trips, designer everything. Made our annual weekend at the lake look pretty pathetic. The worst was when Lindsay Mitchell, she was Lindsay Carter back in school, friend requested me. We used to be close in high school, but she went off to college and we lost touch. Now, she's married to this guy Brad, who runs some big sales team for a tech company, and they just bought this gorgeous house in Meadow Heights, you know, the neighborhood with the gates and the man-made lake. At first, I just casually scrolled through her profile. Then, I started checking it daily. Then, I started feeling this pit in my stomach every time she posted about their kitchen renovation or Brad's company retreat in Cancun. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out if we can afford to fix our dishwasher this month or if we should keep washing by hand. Kyle never seemed bothered by any of it. He'd come home from work, kiss me hello, grab a beer, and start dinner or fix something around the house. Always talking about how we were doing fine, how we were better off than a lot of people, how at least we weren't drowning in debt like some of his coworkers. But fine started to feel like settling to me. Things might have stayed that way if Lindsay hadn't invited me to her housewarming party. That was the night everything really started to unravel. Kyle couldn't go because he had to cover a shift for someone, which was probably for the best. I drove to her neighborhood alone, feeling like an imposter in my 6-year-old Honda. I spent the whole drive rehearsing what I'd say when people asked about Kyle, making him sound more important at Halton's than he really was. Assistant regional manager instead of assistant manager. On track for corporate instead of hoping for a raise. The lies were already forming, and I hadn't even arrived yet. Lindsay's housewarming changed everything. Her home was a sprawling house with marble countertops and one of those giant fridges with a computer screen. Everyone was talking about vacation homes, private schools, and investment portfolios. When Brad asked what Kyle did, I heard myself saying, he's in management at Halton's Hardware. They're grooming him for the corporate office. The lie slipped out so easily. Retail's tough these days with online competition, Brad said sympathetically. If he ever wants to explore other options, our company is always looking for guys with management experience. I took his business card and thanked him, knowing Kyle would never call. The commute would be his first excuse, followed by, I like what I do, and, those corporate jobs work you to death. When I got home that night, Kyle was in the backyard, grilling chicken and looking so damn content it made me furious. He had no idea what we were missing out on. How was the party? He asked. Fancy house, huh? Lindsay's husband must be making bank. It was fine, I said. Brad works for some tech company.